The massive space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal flower. Its silver petals stretched for miles, each one bigger than Earth's largest city. This was Nexus 7, the most important place in the galaxy. Here, 12 alien races made decisions that affected billions of worlds. Ambassador Hyun-woo pressed his face to the small window of the shuttle. He had never seen anything so huge. The station was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Behind him, his team sat quietly. They all knew this moment would change everything for humanity. "First time seeing alien architecture?" asked Colonel Bora. She sat straight in her military uniform, her dark eyes calm and alert. Even in this peaceful mission, she looked ready for trouble. "It's bigger than I imagined," Hyun-woo replied. He was a tall man with kind eyes, chosen for his skill with words and his calm nature. Earth's leaders picked him because he could stay cool under pressure. Today, he would need that skill more than ever. Dr. Taemin looked up from his tablet. The young scientist had been studying alien biology for years, but only from old reports and stolen data. "The Vorthak built this section," he said, pointing to one part of the station. "See how the walls curve? They like spaces that feel like caves." Yoonji nodded without looking away from her communication equipment. She was the youngest on the team, but the smartest with technology. Her job was to make sure they could talk to anyone, anywhere. "I'm picking up signals from at least 50 different species," she said. "This place is busier than Seoul on New Year's Eve." Their shuttle, the Soul's Promise, moved slowly toward the docking bay. It looked like a simple diplomatic ship, white and clean with Earth's blue and white flag painted on its side. Most people would think it was just built for travel and meetings. They would be wrong. Behind them, 6 other ships followed in a neat formation. These were their honor guard, small vessels that looked like they were built for ceremony, not fighting. Their names were painted in Korean letters: Incheon's Blade, Busan's Fury, Daegu's Thunder, Gwangju's Storm, Ulsan's Strike, and Suwon's Edge. Pretty names for what seemed like harmless ships. Captain Jin Ho's voice came through the radio from Incheon's Blade. "Diplomatic party, we're getting lots of attention. I count 47 alien ships watching us. They're trying to scan our hulls." Hyun-woo smiled. "Let them look, Captain. Give them exactly what they expect to see. Copy that, Ambassador. All ships, remember your manners. We're just tourists today." The docking bay was enormous. Ships from across the galaxy sat in neat rows. Hyun-woo saw vessels that looked like giant insects, others that seemed to be made of living metal, and some that hurt his eyes to look at directly. Humanity's small fleet looked tiny and simple compared to these alien wonders. A group of aliens waited for them at the airlock. Hyun-woo recognized their species from his briefings. The tall, scaly one was Prime Minister Sethlak of the Vorthak Republic. His green skin gleamed under the station's lights, and his yellow eyes watched the humans with interest. Next to him stood Chancellor Clicktar, whose insect-like body clicked and buzzed as he moved. "Welcome to Nexus 7, Sethlak said in perfect English. His voice was deep and smooth, like a snake that had learned to speak. "We are honored to meet the newest species to reach the stars." Hyun-woo bowed politely. "Thank you for inviting us, Prime Minister. Humanity is grateful for this chance to join the galactic community." Clicktar's compound eyes studied the human delegation. When he spoke, his voice buzzed like a swarm of bees. "Your species is very young. Only 200 years since you discovered fire, we understand." "We've had fire a bit longer than that," Dr. Taemin said with a small smile. "But we are indeed young compared to your great civilizations." The aliens led them through corridors that changed size and shape as they walked. The station's builders had tried to make spaces comfortable for many different species. Sometimes the ceiling was high enough for giants, other times it was low and cozy. "Tell me," Sethlak said as they walked, "how many worlds does humanity control?" "We have colonies on 12 planets and mining stations on 37 asteroids," Hyun-woo answered honestly. "Fascinating. And your population?" "About 15 billion spread across all our settlements." The aliens exchanged glances. Clicktar's antennae twitched in what might have been amusement. "So few. The Vorthak Republic alone has over 3 trillion citizens." They entered a vast meeting hall with a round table in the center. Seats of different shapes and sizes surrounded it, each designed for a different species. The humans were given simple chairs that felt almost like furniture from home. Other aliens filled the remaining seats. Hyun-woo saw beings made of energy, others that looked like walking trees and creatures he couldn't even describe. All of them seemed old and wise and powerful. Admiral Gorathuk, a massive Vorthak with scars across his scales, leaned forward. "We have studied your military capabilities, humans. Kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, metal projectiles, very traditional." Colonel Bora's expression didn't change. "We make do with what we have, Admiral." "Indeed. Well, let us discuss why you are here." Sethlak activated a hologram that showed a map of the galaxy. Blue zones marked safe space controlled by the Council. Red zones showed dangerous areas full of pirates and monsters. A tiny yellow dot showed Earth's location, far from everything important. "Space is dangerous," Sethlak continued. "Young species often make mistakes. They explore too quickly, make enemies, fall into traps. This is why the Galactic Council offers protection to newcomers." "Protection?" Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew what was coming. "Yes, we will keep you safe from the galaxy's dangers. In return, you provide resources and labor to help maintain order. It is a fair trade." War Commander Buzzeth, the Zephyrian military leader, spread his forearms wide. "Many species have benefited from Council protection. The Deltans provide agricultural products. The Minari work in our factories. The Koresh mine metals for our fleets." Dr. Taemin frowned. "And what happens to species that prefer to remain independent?" The room went quiet. Clicktar's mandibles clicked softly. "Independence is dangerous, young human. Species that reject protection often face difficulties. Pirates attack their ships. Trade agreements disappear. Sometimes their colonies suffer accidents." "How unfortunate," Colonel Bora said in a flat voice. "But completely avoidable," Sethlak said with what might have been a smile. "Accept our protection, and humanity will be safe and prosperous." Hyunwoo looked at his team. Each of them kept their face blank, but he could see the anger in their eyes. This wasn't an invitation to join the galactic community. It was a demand for surrender. "This is a big decision," Hyunwoo said carefully. "I need time to discuss this with my government." "Of course. Take all the time you need." Sethlak's smile showed too many teeth. "Say 3 days? That should be enough to contact Earth and receive new orders." "Thank you. That's very generous." As the meeting ended, the aliens escorted the humans to their quarters. The rooms were comfortable but clearly monitored. Cameras watched from the corners, and the walls probably had listening devices. That night, Hyunwoo stood by his window looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Captain Jinho and his small fleet waited quietly in the darkness. The aliens thought those 6 ships were just for show. Honor guards with no real power. They had no idea what was really waiting in the shadows. Hyunwoo touched his communication device once, a simple signal that meant everything was going according to plan. Far away, other human ships moved silently through space, taking positions around the station. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity hadn't come here just to talk. They had come ready for war. The next morning started with what the aliens called a cultural exchange program. Dr. Timon walked through the medical bay with a Vorthak doctor named Silthak. The reptilian alien showed off their advanced healing technology with obvious pride. "See this scanner?" Silthak pointed to a glowing device. "It can find any disease in seconds. Your human medicine must seem very slow compared to this." Taemin nodded and smiled. "We're always eager to learn from more advanced species." He studied the scanner carefully, but not for the reasons the alien doctor thought. Taemin was looking for weaknesses. Every species had them. While pretending to be amazed by alien medicine, Taemin noticed something important. The Vorthak had very sensitive inner ears. Loud sounds made them dizzy and sick. The Zephyrians were even more interesting. Their insect-like bodies were strong, but they breathed through holes in their sides. Block those holes and they would suffocate quickly. "Your species must be very healthy," Siltek said. "You all look so similar." "We do our best to stay fit," Taemin replied. What he didn't mention was that every human on this mission had been chosen carefully. They were all soldiers, even the ones who looked like diplomats and scientists. Across the station, Yoonji sat in a communication center with Zephyrian technicians. They were teaching her how to use their translation systems, or at least they thought they were. "Your human technology is so basic," buzzed a technician named Vriktel. "These simple radio waves must make communication very hard." Yoonji pretended to struggle with their advanced systems. "It's also complex. Could you show me how the security networks work? Just so I don't accidentally break anything." The aliens were happy to help the poor, confused human. They showed her every communication channel, every security system, every emergency protocol. They thought they were being kind to a primitive species. They had no idea that Yunji had already hacked 3 of their main computers. Her real job was mapping the entire station. Every door, every camera, every power line. She built a complete picture of Nexus 7's weaknesses, while the aliens patted her head like a lost child. In the military section, Colonel Bora toured alien warships with Admiral Gorthuk. The massive Vorthak was proud of his fleet and happy to show off to what he saw as a harmless human soldier. "This is our newest battleship," Gorthuk said as they walked through a vessel the size of a city. "Plasma cannons that can melt a moon, energy shields that stop any attack, quantum engines that cross the galaxy in days." Bora looked impressed. "Amazing. How do you aim those plasma cannons?" "Computer targeting, of course. Much faster than organic reactions." "And the shields? How do they work?" Gorthuk launched into a detailed explanation. He told her about energy frequencies, power requirements, and shield harmonics. He was so pleased with himself for teaching a primitive human about advanced warfare. Bora memorized every word. Energy shields were powerful, but they had rules. They stopped energy weapons but let solid objects pass through slowly. They could be overloaded if hit with enough power at once. Most importantly, they were designed to stop alien weapons, not human ones. "Your species must have very different military tactics," Gorthuk said. "Very different," Bora agreed. "We're still learning." Meanwhile, far from the station, Captain Jin Ho floated in the command center of Incheon's Blade. His ship looked peaceful from the outside, but inside was a different story. Hidden weapons systems hummed with power. Soldiers waited in combat suits. The ship's computers tracked dozens of targets. "Status report," Jin Ho said quietly. "All systems ready, Captain," replied his weapons officer. "Railguns charged, kinetic rounds loaded. We could fire in 30 seconds if needed." Jin Ho nodded. Around the station, his 5 sister ships waited in perfect formation. To alien sensors, they looked like simple escort vessels. The aliens had no idea that each ship was actually a destroyer, packed with humanity's most advanced weapons. Captain Sujin's voice came through the secure channel from Busan's Fury. "Jin Ho, I'm reading massive fleet movements in this sector. Looks like our alien friends called for backup. How many ships?" "At least 60 combat vessels, all trying to stay hidden." "They're surrounding us," Jin Ho smiled coldly. "Let them. When the time comes, they'll regret getting so close." On Daigu's Thunder, Captain Minsu ran final checks on his ship's special weapons. These weren't just railguns. They were kinetic kill vehicles designed to punch through any defense. At near light speed, even a small piece of metal became a weapon of mass destruction. Captain Ye Jin watched from Guangzhou's storm as alien patrol ships moved around them. The aliens thought they were being sneaky, but human sensors were much better than they looked. "They're trying to scan us again," she reported. "Let them," came Jin Ho's reply. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see." The human ships had been built for this moment. Their hulls were designed to fool alien sensors. What looked like simple metal plating was actually advanced armor. What appeared to be basic engines were actually fusion drives capable of incredible speed. What seemed like communication arrays were targeting systems for weapons the galaxy had never seen. Back on the station, Ambassador Hyunwoo met with more alien leaders. They all said the same thing in different ways: join the Galactic Council's protection program, or face the consequences. Some were polite about it, others made direct threats. Chancellor Clicktar was one of the direct ones. "Young species that refuse guidance often have accidents," he buzzed. "Ships disappear. Colonies fail. Very sad, but completely natural." "I understand your concern," Hyunwoo replied. "We'll give your offer serious consideration." That evening, the human team gathered in Hyunwoo's quarters. They spoke in whispers, knowing the aliens were listening, but they had other ways to communicate. Hand signals, coded words, tiny electronic devices that Yunji had built to jam alien surveillance. "The situation is clear," Hyunwoo said softly. "They want us as slaves, not partners," Bora nodded. "Their military is strong but predictable. They rely too much on energy weapons and computer targeting. They've never fought anyone like us. Their biology has several weakness points," Taman added. "Sound, pressure, specific chemical compounds. If it comes to fighting, we know how to hurt them." Yunji held up a small device. "I've mapped their entire computer network. When you give the word, I can shut down their communications, their life support, everything." Hyunwoo looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere in the darkness, more human ships were moving into position. Not just the 6 escort vessels the aliens knew about. Dozens of others, invisible and deadly. How long until the full fleet arrives? He asked quietly. 18 hours, Bora replied. Admiral Donghyun's task force will be in position before our deadline expires. And our special cargo? Dr. Mi-young's surprise packages are already deployed. The aliens have no idea what's floating around their precious station. Hyunwoo smiled. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations thought they were dealing with primitive humans who had stumbled into space by accident. They saw humanity's simple weapons and basic technology and assumed they were dealing with children. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Send the signal, Hyunwoo said. Let Earth know we're ready. Far across the station, alien leaders made their own plans. They would give the humans one more day to think about it. Then they would demonstrate what happened to species that refused Galactic Council protection. They had no idea that the demonstration was about to go the other way. The third day arrived like a storm. Ambassador Hyunwoo walked into the great meeting hall knowing this would be the last time he pretended to be weak. The alien leaders sat around their massive table, all of them looking pleased with themselves. Chancellor Kliktar's compound eyes glittered as he spoke. We trust you have considered our generous offer, Ambassador. We have discussed it thoroughly, Hyunwoo replied, taking his seat. Colonel Bo-ra, Dr. Tai-min, and Yoon-ji sat beside him, their faces calm and empty. Prime Minister Sethlak leaned forward, his scaled hands folded on the table. And what is humanity's decision? We need more time. The silence that followed was thick and dangerous. War Commander Buzzeth's wings buzzed angrily. Admiral Gorathuk's claws scraped against the metal table. More time? Sethlak's voice was soft and deadly. 3 days was already generous for such a simple decision. This affects our entire species, Hyunwoo said. Our government wants to be certain we make the right choice. Kliktar stood up, his insect body clicking with rage. There is only one right choice, human. Accept our protection or face the consequences. What consequences? Dr. Tai-min asked innocently. Several aliens laughed. Gorathuk activated a hologram that showed space around the station. Dozens of alien warships appeared on the display, surrounding the tiny human fleet like sharks around minnows. These consequences, the Admiral said with satisfaction. 63 vessels from our combined fleets. Each one could destroy your entire escort force. Yoon-ji looked at the display with wide, frightened eyes. So many ships. Indeed. And this is only a small part of our military power. Buzzeth spread his forearms wide. The Galactic Council commands over 10,000 warships. Your entire species has what? Maybe 50 vessels? 37 combat-capable ships. Colonel Bo-ra said quietly. You are clearly much stronger than us. The aliens preened at this admission. They loved hearing primitives acknowledge their superiority. Your weapons are equally pathetic, Gorathuk continued. Our intelligence reports show kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. We stopped using such primitive tools thousands of years ago. Metal bullets against plasma cannons. Kliktar buzzed with amusement. Gunpowder against quantum disruptors. It would be over in minutes. Hyunwoo stood slowly. The room went quiet as everyone watched the human ambassador. His team remained seated, but their relaxed postures had changed slightly. They looked like cats getting ready to pounce. You're absolutely right, Hyunwoo said with a strange smile. We do use metal projectiles. Very primitive, I'm sure. Then you accept our terms? Sethlak asked. No. The word hung in the air like a bomb about to explode. Several aliens started talking at once, their voices rising in anger and disbelief. Impossible, Gorathuk snarled. You cannot refuse. Look at our fleet. I am looking, Hyunwoo said calmly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. But I think you should look more carefully. He pressed a button. The holographic display flickered and changed. Instead of showing 63 alien ships surrounding 7 human vessels, it now showed something impossible. The space around Nexus 7 was full of human ships. Dozens of them, appearing out of nowhere like ghosts becoming solid. The alien leaders stared in shock. Their sensors had detected only 7 human vessels. Now the display showed 43 ships, all painted with Earth's flag, all pointed at the alien fleet. Stealth technology, Yunji explained helpfully. We're very good at hiding. Kliktar's mandibles clicked frantically. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected them. Your sensors detect energy signatures and metal compositions, Dr. Taemin said. We designed our ships to look like space debris until activated. Admiral Gorathuk was already shouting orders into his communicator. All ships, battle stations, target the human vessels. I wouldn't do that, Colonel Bora said softly. On the display, the alien fleet began moving toward the newly revealed human ships. It looked like a standard battle formation, energy weapons charging, shields powering up. Then the first shots were fired. A massive Vorthak battleship, 3 miles long and bristling with plasma cannons, fired at what looked like a small human destroyer. The plasma beam, hot enough to melt steel, struck the human ship directly. Nothing happened. The human vessel sat there calmly as the energy washed over it like water. Its shields didn't even flicker. Impossible, Gorathuk whispered. The human ship turned slowly, like a predator that had just been annoyed by a fly. When it fired back, there was no bright energy beam or colorful explosion. Just a brief flash of light from its forward section. A second later, the Vorthak battleship simply came apart. The massive vessel, protected by shields that could stop any known weapon, split into 3 pieces. Metal screamed as the ship tore itself apart. Atmosphere vented into space in glittering clouds. The proud battleship became a field of debris in less than 5 seconds. The meeting room went completely silent. What was that? Sethlak asked, his voice barely a whisper. A kinetic kill vehicle, Bora explained. A tungsten rod 3 meters long fired at 12% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small piece of metal carries the force of a nuclear weapon. Another alien ship fired at the human fleet. This time it was a Zephyrian cruiser with quantum disruptors. The result was the same. The human vessel absorbed the energy attack without damage, then fired a single metal projectile in return. The cruiser exploded like a balloon full of fire. Your shields stop energy, Taemin said conversationally. They're not designed for solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. War Commander Buzzeth was screaming into his communicator, ordering his ships to retreat. But it was too late. The human fleet had formed a perfect sphere around the aliens, and now they opened fire together. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. 43 human ships fired as one. 43 metal projectiles, each moving at a significant fraction of light speed, struck the alien fleet simultaneously. Energy shields designed to deflect plasma and lasers might as well have been made of paper. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries came apart like toys. Proud vessels with crews of thousands became clouds of glowing gas. The entire alien fleet, 63 warships representing the combined might of 3 civilizations, was crippled or destroyed in under 30 seconds. The few surviving ships tried to run. Captain Jinho's voice came through the station's communication system, calm and professional. Attention surviving alien vessels, cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that continues trying to escape will be destroyed. On the meeting room display, the human ships moved with deadly grace. They herded the surviving aliens like sheepdogs controlling a flock. Every movement was precise and controlled. Impossible, Kliktar kept repeating. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Actually, it's quite simple, said a new voice. Dr. Mi Young appeared on the display as a hologram. She was an older woman with kind eyes and a grandmother's smile. She also happened to be humanity's greatest weapons designer. You made the same mistake everyone makes about kinetic weapons, she continued. You assume they're primitive because they're simple. A rock is simple too, but it can kill if thrown hard enough. Admiral Gorathuk found his voice. How many human ships are there? This is just our diplomatic escort, Dr. Mi Young replied cheerfully. You wanted to know about our military capabilities, so we brought some examples. Sethlak was staring at the display in horror. Where his mighty fleet had been, only wreckage remained. A few rescue pods drifted among the debris, carrying the handful of survivors. "What do you want?" he asked. Ambassador Hyunwoo straightened his tie and smiled. "I thought that was obvious. We want to renegotiate." The space around Nexus 7 looked like a graveyard. Broken pieces of alien ships drifted in the darkness, still glowing from the heat of their destruction. Emergency pods blinked with distress signals as survivors tried to understand what had just happened. Captain Jin Ho sat in the command center of Incheon's Blade, watching his tactical display with satisfaction. His ship hadn't even been scratched during the brief battle. Around him, his crew worked quietly and efficiently, tracking the remaining alien vessels. "Captain," his weapons officer reported, "3 enemy ships are trying to jump to hyperspace." "Disable them," Jinho ordered. "Non-fatal shots to their engine sections." "Yes, sir." The Incheon's Blade turned with smooth precision. Its main railgun fired 3 times in rapid succession. Each shot was carefully aimed, designed to cripple rather than kill. 3 tungsten rods, each no bigger than a baseball bat, struck their targets with the force of bombs. The fleeing ships went dark as their engines exploded. They were alive but helpless, drifting in space like wounded animals. On Busan's Fury, Captain Sujin coordinated the rescue operations. Her ship moved between the debris fields, picking up escape pods and treating wounded aliens. It was important to show mercy now. The galaxy needed to understand that humans could be both deadly and civilized. "Medical team to Base 7, she announced over the intercom. "We have Zephyrian survivors with breathing difficulties." Dr. Taemin's voice came through the communication system from the medical bay. "On our way, Captain. We've prepared treatment for their specific biology." This was another shock for the aliens. Not only had the humans destroyed their fleet, but now they were providing medical care for the survivors. The same species that fired relativistic kill vehicles also knew exactly how to treat Vorthak scale burns and Zephyrian respiratory damage. Captain Minsu watched from Daegu's Thunder as more alien ships arrived at the edge of the system. Word was spreading across the galaxy that something impossible had happened at Nexus 7. These new ships kept their distance, afraid to get too close to the human fleet. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, "we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout this sector. It looks like half the galaxy is sending ships here." "Let them come," Minsu replied. "The more witnesses, the better." On Captain Yejin's ship, Gwangju Storm, the communication arrays were busy intercepting alien transmissions. Every government in the galaxy was trying to understand what had happened. The reports all said the same impossible thing. Humanity's tiny diplomatic fleet had destroyed 63 major warships in less than a minute. "Captain," her communications officer said, "we're picking up panic signals from at least 12 different species. They're all asking the same question." "What question?" "How many more human ships are out there?" Yejin smiled. That was exactly the right question for them to be asking. Back on Nexus 7, the alien leaders sat in stunned silence. The great meeting hall felt different now. An hour ago, they had been the masters of the galaxy, dictating terms to a primitive species. Now they were prisoners in their own station. Prime Minister Sethalak stared at the tactical display, watching human ships move through the wreckage of his fleet. His scales had turned pale with shock. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" Dr. Mi-young's hologram flickered slightly as she adjusted the projection. "It's quite simple, really. While your civilization spent thousands of years perfecting energy weapons, we spent our time perfecting kinetic weapons." "But kinetic weapons are primitive," Chancellor Kliktar protested. "Inefficient. Slow. Colonel Bora laughed. "Our railguns accelerate projectiles to 12% of light speed. At that velocity, a 1-kilogram tungsten rod releases energy equivalent to 15 tons of explosives." "How is that slow?" War Commander Buzzeth's wings trembled as he spoke. "But the power requirements, the engineering challenge, were solved centuries ago," Yunji said cheerfully. "We've been using electromagnetic acceleration since the 21st century. We just kept making it better." Admiral Gorathuk was still trying to understand the tactical situation. "Your shields. They absorbed our plasma beams completely." "Magnetic field manipulation," Dr. Taemin explained. "We bend the energy around our ships instead of trying to stop it. Much more efficient than your barrier systems, but that's impossible. Our scientists proved that magnetic shielding couldn't work at those power levels." "Your scientists were wrong," Mi-young said gently. They made assumptions based on their own technology. We approached the problem differently. The hologram changed to show a cutaway view of a human ship. The aliens stared in fascination and horror. What they had thought was simple metal plating was actually a complex system of armor, magnetic field generators, and kinetic weapon systems. Each of our ships carries 48 railgun systems, Mi-young continued. They can fire in sequence or simultaneously, depending on the tactical situation. Our ammunition is simple tungsten, but at relativistic speeds, even pebbles become weapons of mass destruction. Sethlak found his voice. How many ships does humanity possess? That's classified information, Ambassador Hyunwoo replied. But I can tell you that this diplomatic escort represents a tiny fraction of our military capability. Through the station's windows, they could see more human vessels arriving. Sleek ships that looked nothing like the diplomatic fleet. These were pure warships built for one purpose only. Their hulls were black as space and their weapon arrays were clearly visible. The second battle group has arrived, Colonel Bora noted, checking her communication device. Admiral Dong-hyun sends his regards. How many ships? Kliktar asked weakly. 67 vessels in this group, Bora replied, plus support ships, supply vessels, mobile repair platforms. A standard patrol force. A patrol force? Gorthuk's voice cracked. You call that a patrol force? We have much larger formations, Hyunwoo said calmly. The Third Fleet has over 300 ships. The Home Defense Force protects Earth with nearly 1,000 vessels. The aliens looked at each other in growing panic. They had assumed humanity was a weak young species with only a handful of primitive ships. The truth was a nightmare. Humanity possessed a fleet that could challenge the entire Galactic Council. What do you want from us? Sethlak asked. Nothing complicated, Hyunwoo replied. We want respect. We want equal treatment in trade negotiations. We want an end to your protection racket that enslaves young species. And if we refuse? The ambassador's smile was cold. Look outside your windows, Prime Minister. What do you think will happen if you refuse? Another wave of human ships arrived as if summoned by his words. These vessels were even larger than the previous groups. Massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the alien fleet. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Reinforcements, Dr. Mi-young announced. The 4th and 5th battle groups, plus some special forces units. Oh, and Admiral Jinsu's heavy assault squadron. He was eager to see alien technology up close. Captain Woo Jin's voice came through the communication system from Ulsan's strike. All human vessels, this is Fleet Command. Take defensive positions around the station. Protect our diplomatic mission. Within minutes, Nexus 7 was surrounded by over 200 human warships. Each one was a technological marvel, built to fight and win against any opponent. The space station that had once been the symbol of alien power was now completely at humanity's mercy. Impossible, Buzzeth whispered. Where did they all come from? We've been building ships for a long time, Captain Haye-jin said from Suwon's edge. We just kept them hidden until we needed them. Sethlak looked around the room at his fellow alien leaders. All of them were pale and shaking. Their mighty fleets had been destroyed. Their most secure station was surrounded. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted in less than an hour. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Hyunwoo straightened his jacket and smiled. I'm so glad you asked. The great meeting hall of Nexus 7 looked very different now. Where alien leaders had once sat in positions of power, they now huddled together like frightened children. Outside the massive windows, human warships filled the space around the station. Their dark hulls gleamed with weapon systems that the galaxy had never seen before. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood at the head of the table, no longer pretending to be weak or confused. His team sat beside him, relaxed and confident. The tables had turned completely. Let's discuss the new arrangement, Hyunwoo began, his voice calm and professional. The Galactic Council will be restructured to include human representation. Prime Minister Sethlak's scales had turned almost white with fear. What kind of representation? Equal representation, Colonel Bora replied. Humanity will have the same voting rights as any other major power. Chancellor Kliktar's compound eyes darted nervously around the room. But you're only one species. We represent dozens of civilizations. And yet, Dr. Taemin said with a smile, we just demonstrated that we have more military power than all of your civilizations combined. Shouldn't representation reflect actual capability? War Commander Buzzeth tried to object. Military strength isn't everything. Civilization is about culture, art, philosophy. You're absolutely right, Yunji agreed. Which is why we're not demanding total control. We just want an equal voice in decisions that affect the galaxy. Admiral Garathuk looked out at the human fleet surrounding the station. How many ships do you really have? Enough, Hyunwoo answered simply. But that's not the point. We didn't come here to conquer the galaxy. We came here to change how it operates. Dr. Mi Young's hologram appeared again, her grandmother's smile somehow more terrifying than any weapon. The current system is inefficient. Young species are forced into slavery instead of being allowed to contribute their unique abilities. It's wasteful. What do you propose? Sethlak asked quietly. Hyunwoo activated a new holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored zones. First, the protection racket ends immediately. No more forcing young species to become client states. But without protection, they'll be vulnerable to pirates and raiders, Kliktar protested. Then we'll protect them properly, Colonel Bora said. Human patrol fleets will ensure the safety of developing civilizations. No payment required except friendship and trade agreements. The alien leaders exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that humanity wasn't just stronger than they had imagined. They were also more organized and more ethical. Second, Hyunwoo continued, trade will be conducted on equal terms. No more exploitative contracts or forced resource extraction. That will disrupt our entire economy, Buzzeth said. Then you'll need to build a better economy, Dr. Taemin replied. One based on mutual benefit instead of exploitation. Yoonji pulled up another display showing communication networks across the galaxy. We've already begun broadcasting the truth about human capabilities. Every species in the galaxy now knows that there's an alternative to council protection. You can't just change everything overnight. Gorathuk snarled. Watch us, Mi-young said cheerfully. As if summoned by her words, reports began flooding into the meeting hall. Species across the galaxy were declaring independence from their council overlords. The Deltans had stopped shipping food to Vorthak worlds. The Minari had shut down the factories that produced Zephyrian technology. The Koresh mining colonies had gone silent. It's chaos, Sethlak whispered. It's freedom, Hyunwoo corrected. Something your council tried to steal from them. Captain Jin Ho's voice came through the communication system. Ambassador, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different alien fleets. They're asking for safe passage home. Grant it, Hyunwoo replied. We're not here to slaughter anyone. We're here to establish new rules. The alien leaders watched in amazement as human ships began escorting the survivors of their broken fleets to safety. The same vessels that had destroyed their military might were now providing protection and medical aid. I don't understand, Kliktar said. Why are you helping us? We tried to enslave your species. Because we're better than you, Colonel Bora said simply. We believe in justice, not revenge. Dr. Mi-young's hologram shifted to show technical specifications. We're prepared to share some of our technology with species that prove they can use it responsibly. Medical advances, agricultural improvements, communication systems. Not weapons? Gorathuk asked. Absolutely not weapons, Mi-young replied firmly. Those stay with us until the galaxy proves it can handle them. Hyunwoo walked to the massive windows overlooking space. The human fleet stretched as far as the eye could see, a demonstration of power that the galaxy would never forget. But it was also a promise of protection for those who needed it. There's something else you should know, he said without turning around. This diplomatic fleet? It's not even from Earth. The alien stared at him in confusion. We're from humanity's outer colonies, Dr. Taemin explained. The species you thought was primitive and weak has been expanding across the galaxy for decades. We have colonies in 47 star systems. Impossible, Sethlak breathed. Our scouts would have detected them. Your scouts found exactly what we wanted them to find, Yoonji said. A few small settlements and mining operations. You never looked hard enough to find our real colonies. Colonel Bora smiled at their shocked faces. Earth itself has a defense fleet of over 2,000 ships. Our manufacturing worlds produce new vessels every month. Our research stations develop better weapons and shields constantly. How long? Buzzeth asked weakly. How long have you been preparing for this? Since the day we discovered we weren't alone in the universe, Hyunwoo replied. We learned about the Galactic Council early in our space exploration. We studied your methods, your weapons, your politics. We spent 200 years getting ready for this moment. War Commander Buzzeth's wings sagged with defeat. What happens now? Now we rebuild, Hyunwoo said, turning back to face the room. The galaxy will have new rules. Fair rules. Species will be judged by their character, not their military strength. And if we refuse to accept these changes? Sethlok asked. The ambassador's expression hardened. Look around you, Prime Minister. Your fleets are destroyed. Your allies are abandoning you. Your former slaves are declaring independence. You don't have the luxury of refusing anything. Admiral Gorathuk slammed his clawed hand on the table. This is intolerable. You cannot simply overthrow the natural order. We just did, Dr. Mi Young said gently. The natural order was always might makes right. We're just stronger than you thought. Captain Sujin's voice came through the speakers. Ambassador, we're receiving communication requests from over 300 species. They all want to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Schedule meetings with all of them. Hyunwoo replied. It's time to build a better galaxy. The alien leaders sat in stunned silence as the reality of their situation sank in. The Galactic Council that had ruled for millennia was finished. In its place would rise something new, something fairer, something that wouldn't tolerate the enslavement of young species. What about us? Kliktar asked quietly. What happens to our civilizations? You'll be treated fairly, Colonel Bo-Ra assured him. Better than you treated others, actually. You can keep your worlds, your cultures, your governments. You just can't exploit anyone else anymore. Hyunwoo returned to his seat, looking every inch the diplomat he had always pretended to be. Gentlemen, humanity didn't come here to destroy the galactic community. We came here to join it as equals. Your mistake was assuming we were weak enough to be slaves. Through the windows, construction ships were already arriving. They would build humanity's first galactic fortress here, around Nexus 7, a symbol that the age of exploitation was over. The galaxy has new rules now, Hyunwoo concluded. Simple rules. Treat others fairly, trade honestly, protect the weak. And remember that humanity is always watching. In the darkness of space, the human fleet maintained its vigil, silent guardians of a new galactic order, built on justice instead of fear. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.